Let's get straight into it. When you're overthinking, you're probably thinking about these three main things. What if I fail? What if I don't choose the right option? And what if this isn't the best option? If this is a big decision, you've probably been spending weeks, maybe months, thinking and researching about it, but you still find that nothing helps and you can't make that decision. Overthinking is not the problem. It never was. Overthinking is actually a symptom of something much larger. And once you destroy that belief, it will be so easy and you'll never have any difficulty making a decision ever again. Let's try an exercise together. Let's take the last thing you were overthinking about. It's probably about something going wrong, right? So we'll choose that. Now let's ask ourselves, what happens if this thing actually goes wrong? Because we actually have to think about the consequences of our action instead of just stopping out of fear. Most likely, if you choose wrong, you won't die, but you will end up back at square one again. See, there's a big misconception with square one. Square one is not a bad thing, because most likely you think that you failed, but at the same time, you've learned something very valuable about yourself. And if you didn't try and fail, you never would have known this. So something else you can ask yourself is, what do I learn from failing? I'll give you a personal example. I went to university for biochemistry, and I did terrible. I failed a couple of my classes, and I just did not do well whatsoever. I was back at square one again. What did I do? I thought about what I learned from that failure. Well, I learned that I still really liked biology and chemistry. I liked it all throughout high school. But one thing I also learned is I really like hands-on lab work. So what I did was transfer to a college for biotechnology. As you may know, college is a lot more hands-on, at least it is in Canada where I am from. Now I have a 3.9 GPA. So from failing, I learned something very valuable about myself. I learned that I needed a more hands-on environment, and I also needed a smaller class size. As you know, with university, it's like 400 people in a lecture. Does not help anybody at all, at least for me. Now, if you remember what I said earlier, I talked about destroying a belief. And what I want to discuss is the belief around failure. Because most likely you have a belief that failure is a bad thing. When in my example, I just proved that failure can be turned into something positive. Most likely, if you're an overthinker, you believe, if I fail, something is wrong with me. Or failure means I made the wrong choices. Failure doesn't mean you're broken, it just means you tried and didn't get the desired outcome. And if you believe that failure is a bad thing, you'll try every possible way to avoid it at all costs, which causes you to stay still and take less chances. And as a result, you don't grow as a person. Right now, because of that belief, we overthink, and that overthinking is causing us to believe that we are protecting ourselves. But what's actually happening is we're preventing ourselves from growing. So I want you to change this belief from failure is a bad thing to if I fail, I can learn. So through your actions, you can prove this belief by, instead of searching for the best option, you can try gaining feedback, try gaining information, try gaining direction, and try to bring as much clarity from each failure as possible. Now, every time you try something and fail, it's a good thing because you learned. You learn what works, you learn what doesn't work, you learn what you're interested in, you learn what you're not interested in. Here's a quote that I always want you to remember and keep this in mind for the rest of your life. The person who tries and fails moves forward, but the person who never tries stays exactly where they are. And if you don't like where you are, you have to try something new, even if you fail.